Today we've got a very interesting game to talk about that didn't originate as a video game. Pinku Kult is a term for an apparel brand that a lone artist began about 3 years ago, combining punk and occult imagery into their own little fictional story. If you go to their website, you can find loads of different designs for apparel, showing some imagery that does show up in today's review. A turn-based RPG that was originally a request from a watcher of my streams. Here is my review of Pinku Kult Hex Mortis for the Nintendo Switch. This game takes place in Razor City, a place where people there may not even know how they got there in the first place. You play as someone looking for work, trying to get by and pay your late rent. You happen upon a job from the Shokan Corporation sent to investigate mysterious disappearances said to be the work of a strange girl wearing a fox mask. As you investigate, you find something much more supernatural and terrifying going on, encountering demons that have somehow invaded the city, all seemingly tied back to that girl. You gain allies as you investigate each mystery, adventuring together to fix whatever is going on. I found the story here to be a lot of fun. It's really dark and horror-based, from the creepy designs of the characters to how everything looks with the environments and monsters. Even the spiders from the first dungeon are designed to look really messed up, with extra mouths along their abdomens, or the bigger ones looking like they were stitched together like some Frankenspider. Though I did like that each chapter was its own little story arc. Chapter 1 is all about Akka and solving the disappearances. Chapter 2 about a hypnotic musical group and what they're doing to their fans. You get bits and pieces of the overall story, but they are their own little self-contained mysteries. My only real complaint about it was that I wanted to see more of these stories. As we get into later, the game only spans about 4 chapters before everything is over. What's there is pretty good, I just wish there was more. When it comes to gameplay, this is a 2D turn-based RPG with light customization thrown in. As you play, you'll be talking to NPCs around the world to figure out where you need to go, and fighting enemies in turn-based combat within the game's many dungeons. Now when you begin, you sort of create a character. You aren't given any gender options, just things like skin tone, hairstyle, wardrobe, and an animal-based mask you are to wear throughout the game as part of your job uniform. With how unisex everything is, it's really left up to you on what gender you are, if you're a gender at all. But later on you will get more masks to wear, but the wardrobe pretty much stays the same. As far as progress goes, each chapter will open up different areas for you to explore. You have a world map that you run around as pretty much just a flat surface with locations you interact with to enter and explore. At first, you're really only going to have your apartment in High Street where the game's shop is. But as you go through the game, more places will open up that have to do with that chapter's story. The idea is to talk to NPCs in the areas open to you, unlocking story objectives and pointing you to your next destination. It's pretty simple overall. Talk to people, find items, go to the main dungeon, fight off monsters, fight the boss, and move on. And that's where the RPG side comes in. As you wander around dungeons, you'll encounter enemies roaming around on the map that will initiate a battle with you upon run into. It is turn-based with attack, skill, and item commands for each party member, and each individual character does have their own unique skills that they can use. It's a pretty standard mechanic, though the MP system is a little bit nice in that you gain a little MP back every time your turn comes up, so you can use your skills and don't have to always rely on items to replenish it. Now as far as difficulty goes, the game begins pretty hard. The first dungeon's enemies will do a lot of damage and you don't have a whole lot at your disposal. But once you get out of that initial dungeon and can re-enter it for grinding, it gets much easier. The MP system can also be easily taken advantage of once you get the final party member. They have the ability to restore a quarter of everyone's MP pool, including their own. This can lead to other characters being able to constantly use their low and mid-tier skills, and you'll never run out of MP so long as that final character is always on MP regen duty. It's so easy to take advantage of, you can create a combo that makes a lot of hard bosses later on a lot less hard. With MP regen, 2 attack skills, full party heal, MP regen, rinse and repeat. It really shows the simplicity of the game, and it goes further in how you level up and get stronger. Hex Mortis has a progression system that gets you stronger just by leveling up. No equipment, no accessories, no point allocation. You fight enemies, level up, and you're stronger. This goes even further with the Limbo dungeon, which has unlockable branching paths from the other dungeons of the game, giving you access to respawnable enemies and item drops you can constantly re-enter and farm for levels and supplies. While you do have items in this optional dungeon you need for story progression, it's mostly there to give you an easy way to grind and buff up your party. As all of this comes together, we get a decent amount of content in length and something I'm a little conflicted on. The game costs a measly $10 on the eShop, and it took me about 5.5 hours to get to the end, while also getting the extra side quest items from Limbo. Plenty of time for the price tag. I just wish there was a bit more side story stuff going on. But considering the developer is a very small team, it's pretty good for what it is. Next up is presentation. The game's art style and design looks very pretty. The sprites are well detailed and have a lot of animated life to them. They almost have a Paper Mario type look to how they flip horizontally when you change directions. Now the visuals themselves also look great. A ton of detail in the environments, no blurring or jaggies in handheld mode. Performance is good as well. Frame rate is ultra smooth, load times are short, and I never noticed any drops. The only thing I'd say about optimization are some little glitches here and there that don't cause a huge problem on their own, but they're worth mentioning. I found a lot of typos in the script, one even mentioning an item in the form of a file name, the same item that did not have that issue in a previous cutscene. I also noticed that when recruiting Akka and Midori, they always come into their first battle at 1 HP, something that doesn't happen in the other releases. Again, these aren't a huge deal, but something that happened a good few times. That's all I've got there, so let's go into battery life. On the original model, we get a battery range of 3 hours and 50 up to 4 hours and 20. The Nintendo Switch Lite gets a range of 4 hours and 22 up to 5 hours and 2. The Redboxer V2 2019 model gets a range of 6 hours and 8 up to 6 hours and 55. And the OLED model gets a range of 6 hours and 45 up to 7 hours and 54. In conclusion, Pinku Kult is an oddly named, unique turn-based RPG for those wanting an anime style with horrific and grotesque demons. Now, on the downside, it's got a few little glitches here and there, and I all around just wanted to see more of this world than we got. But it's got a great visual style and is a fun little bite-sized RPG to trek through on the go. Reviews to go. Rates Pinku Kult Hex Mortis for the Nintendo Switch a 9 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.